Okay, Ed, it's time to get going. Let's start our disassembly. Okay, back of your dial is 8.5. Back of your case is 8.5. So that is cool to see. Together for, what was that, 56 years? Pretty amazing. You've lost some text here on your date ring. Don't think I have a 4 o'clock crown silver date ring. I will look. Okay, well that's the disassembly. We're going to go ahead and jewel your ports here. This one is pretty much blown out. I can see that's really oblong, so that needs to be taken care of. Just some good cleaning. You know, you got a lot of dirt in your movement. We're going to check out your mainspring to make sure that that's okay, and we'll be back with a clean movement. Okay, Ed. Well, everything's been inspected. We're out of the cleaner. We're ready to get the movement service going. So let's get that started. Okay, well that's back running. Let's go ahead and check it and see how we did. Okay, well that's a really good start. Let's go ahead and get some adjusting done. Okay, well I think I'm gonna just keep an eye on this, see how the numbers proceed, and we'll come back and have a look. I'm just going to take another quick look at things and see why the variability is there. It's usually just down to the lubrication getting its way around, but I think I'm going to let this rest for a bit and watch the numbers proceed, and we'll come back. All right, well, not without some intervention, but we are where we need to be in terms of amplitude now. Yeah, a couple things had definitely passed their sale-by date. If really needed to be worked on. Your barrel and your mainspring and your arbor and your hairspring, some other things needed a little bit of attention. But we'll get to that when we start to review. But I just wanted to show you that the numbers are really where they're supposed to be. I mean, this is sort of, you know, as good as they get in some sense. A little bit of variability, but that's probably my time grapher and me talking more than anything. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. We're gonna do the fine adjustments once we're in the case, but you know, this is pretty spot on as far as I can tell. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, that's the completion of the movement assembly and service. We're going to go ahead and get your dial and hands on the watch and put it in the case and finish our process. Alright, we're back in the case, so let's get the last few components installed of the winding assembly. Okay, so here we go. Here's your 1968 6105 8009 proof. Really just a neat early example of the proof 8009s. Very short run on these. Let's talk a little bit about the details. So this watch came in. It was had seen quite a bit of water, and I did my best to preserve as much as I possibly could in terms of the quality of the appearance of the watch. Service went fine. It had its needs. There were a few things that certainly were needed in the service, and we'll go through all the components that have been replaced and repaired. Effectively, the water had done some sort of deeper damage than perhaps you and I had expected, and also just age. These things, if they're not serviced sort of regularly, there can be some real issues with certain components, and I'll go through that as well. You had some replacement items, and luckily, I just have a lot of good replacement parts for these movements. Overall, it's running great. Keeping extremely good time. I've been watching it for quite some time. There's been a bit of a time lag between the start point and right now, but the watch came out great. So let's talk a little bit. Cosmetically, as you can see, your hands were they were toast. They really needed some new, what I would call my vintage style lume. And that, I think, came out pretty well. The match is pretty good to the dial. I was able to lighten the dial lume. Still, it still has its patina, but it did lighten up pretty nicely compared to where we started. I was able to save some of your pip lume and put it back in with a little bit of binder. It's not going to be perfect. You kind of have to take these apart in order to get underneath the full pip, but I was able to get there and get that looking pretty good. It's all very consistent. Let's see. Full service again on the movement, full disassembly on the crown and the case. Had the case cleaned up real well. No polishing, of course, just a really good cleaning. And you had some pieces and parts. Somebody had done some work on this watch. It's such an interesting thing to see what people do in the past. I always try and piece together a story, but sometimes it's just not clear. I'm just going to bring out all the things that needed replacing in the watch and kind of give you a full story here. Let me bring this part over. That's important too. So let's see. Movement. Let's go through the movement parts. Let's get rid of all this stuff. We'll come back to that. So in your movement, your date ring had lost a lot of its integrity. A lot of the numbers had sort of just come off. This happens when moisture gets under. This is like it's almost as though it's a slide transfer, like a water transfer decal that's been put on these. And as you can see, you lost 17, you lost 21, or maybe that was, 17, 18 has some damage. Just all the way around. You can see where the transfer decal has sort of moved to the side here. I had a good one to replace this with, so I went ahead and did it. So now all of your days of the month will come up. This is what we would call your barrel complete. Now these are disassemblable, and I did disassemble this and clean everything. Your hairspring, or your mainspring, was pretty good. It was lacking some power, but more than that, the wear of your barrel was such that this was tipping so badly there was actually deflecting into one of the bridges. And so I had a good barrel complete, and so I just went ahead and replaced the whole thing. Now this is also a complete part, and somebody had been in here in the past and had done some damage to the hairspring and also done some damage to the bridge here. And I wanted to just replace the bridge and fiddle with the hairspring, but unfortunately when they did this, they drove this screw in so hard that it deformed your this little component, and I couldn't get it apart without destroying it. So now you have a bridge and a mainspring, or a hairspring, and a just the whole part. I just replaced the whole thing. So it just wasn't worth it. The amount of, just to take this thing apart, it was practically impossible. And I have a good one to replace it with. It just, the hairspring wasn't right. It just needed it. It just needed to be redone. So you get a new barrel, you get a new hairspring and hairspring bridge. Now, for the exterior of the watch. Kind of a mess. A few things. So here's your case back seal. It had been replaced at some point. I went ahead and replaced it anyway. Now, the water damage that you had, that came from a few different sources. This is the gasket that lives in your crown. And as you can see, it doesn't give. It's a piece of solid rubber. I'll show you what the gasket is supposed to look like. Let me grab one. This is the type that I replace it with, which is a perfect match to the originals. There's a new one. Now, I don't know if you can see the difference, but I certainly can, and you can certainly feel it. When you turn the crown, there is actual resistance. So you can see the inner diameter is much smaller on the good one. The compliance of the good one is, of course, an O-ring. Whoops, there it goes. So this O-ring, which is no longer an O-ring, for all intents and purposes, is now inside of your crown a new one that is like this. So nice, squishy gasket, where this one is hard and letting water in. Now, what's interesting about your watch is that, now I'm not sure, I've heard some folklore about these natural rubber gaskets. This may have been a replacement part that somebody put in at some point. But as you can see, that is not supple. It is a stiff, worthless, cracked, broken piece of plastic. The real gasket that should be in here is Viton, and Viton lasts basically forever. This, of course, does not. As you can see, it's cracked and broken. Now, the last part that's really kind of interesting that somebody took it upon themselves to put into your watch is this bent up piece of wire that was holding your bezel on. That is incorrect. I don't know where that came from, but I'll show you one that's correct. Here's what they should look like, and this is what you have now, this one. They have these lobes, 1, 2, 3 lobes that hold onto your bezel in 3 points, and then these curved parts live on the inside. I'm not sure what in the heck this thing was. I'm surprised your bezel even stayed on, to be quite honest. Somebody was trying to make something look like this, and as you can see, they really did a sort of terrible job. The one that's in there is correct. It is the right stiffness. It has, it's loose, but not too loose. These do move. They allow the bezel to shift, but it certainly is better than that. I can't believe that actually stayed on those years. But that's correct. That's what's in there now. So that's on and good. I also put there's actually a groove machined into the top of the case that allows for a plastic O-ring to go into the case that allows this to ride on top, and it gives a little bit of extra tension to hold this in place. Now, you can take it off. It's it's removable, but it's definitely right in the sense that right now it's in good shape and is the original style. So that's all your stuff. That's everything that needed to get done. New jewels. Oh, where's your bushing? There it is. Here's your bushing that I replaced in the movement to make now 2 more jewels in this. So we now have a 19 jewel 6105. Everything, of course, will come back to you to keep all of the original components with the watch, and even some that aren't. I didn't replace your crystal. You had said you weren't really concerned about having these few scratches. It doesn't look too bad. I cleaned it really well and reinstalled it. So that's the watch. Service is done. Watch is running great. I'm really happy with the outcome. I hope you are too. I'll put your rubber Uncle Seiko back on, and we'll get it shipped off, and we'll get settled up and get everything finished. All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for trusting me with this great family piece. I hope you enjoy it for many years to come. And again, thanks for watching.